That's the most important bit, and it's not nearly as much fun as the description.
It says we're streaming live now on the Zoom cam, but I don't have the notification on Facebook. Now I do.
Redirecting. So I am running. Are we there? Okay. I am running on a single screen. So I'm going to open up my phone and let's do, hi everybody. I'm Rachel Evers, residential real estate in Southeast Michigan. Go ahead. You're who?
I'm Cassandra Evers. I do myself in Southwest Michigan. Sorry for interrupting you.
You said that so quietly. Do the disclaimer. This is our cover your ass intro.
I'm not a lawyer. I'm not a financial advisor. I'm licensed in neither of those things. Rachel's not a lawyer and she's not a financial advisor. She's not licensed in any of those things. We do have licenses. I would pull it out, but they don't deliver it to me in a piece of paper. But I have a license.
I wish I knew we were doing that because I would have brought mine. I can hold my
I don't have one. I could make one. I mean, yeah, I guess I could make one. There's only a few certificates I have. I've got a trophy back there.
Okay, total rabbit trail, but if you make one, it's not really a license, thing one, because I could make a driver's license. I'm going to make a visa and go to another country. I'm a
Judas priest. Does that count? So
it does. I don't even know what religion I am. Not religion, what kind of wedding officiant, but it's not a Judas priest. It's something else, like flying spaghetti monster. Officiant, yes. I'm actually doing a wedding in like 2 weeks. It'll be my 7th wedding.
Get out of here.
I know.
Well, if I ever get married again, I know who to call.
Dude, they're not great. Just you might want to rethink that. It's fun.
Okay.
The last one.
General, or like
listen, it's actually fun. The last wedding I did, I dressed up as Gandalf. It was
where
pretty
were the pictures? I saw you asking for a costume, but I didn't.
Yeah, I have to ask my client because I didn't take any because it would have really been out of character. But this is not what people are here for. So people are here for the real estate stuff. So I have to start this episode though by telling you that I had a conversation with Candace Shinjak, who is my broker's wife. She's also an agent in the brokerage. So
Did she join us like 2 weeks ago?
Yes, and that's why I'm bringing this up. So she joined us a couple of weeks ago, was saying very nice things to me about what we're doing here, which I much appreciated because we never know, right? I get a lot of private feedback and people reaching out or talking to me offline about what they saw on your show, but it really meant a lot coming from another professional. But I wanted to bring it up now to let you know that she was like, and your sister is really pretty. And I was like, I know. Stop. No, you're beautiful. And then we talked about how smart you are. You do know, you know what's really funny?
I'll take that.
You know what's really funny about that is I have whatever you're pointing to here. I don't see yours, but I have them and I know exactly what you think you're pointing to.
Oh God. Okay. So.
What? Hold on. I mean, let's make it better. So let's put on our real estate goggles.
We have a lot of viewers for some reason. So this might be what they like. And maybe we can do this while we just talk.
Or we're just now getting traction on episode 26 and we're blowing up our opportunity. You only get one shot. Do not miss your chance to blow. This opportunity comes once in a lifetime, yo.
God, I've heard that somewhere before.
No. It's a white people thing, though, for sure. Am I allowed to say that? I'm going to get in big trouble now, aren't I?
Well, you'll soon find out if that was okay.
Yep, that's whatever. Put something in the comments. Okay, we have good topics today, and I'm excited about mine. And my topic is deadlines. And I, like everything, I can over-explain it for 45 fucking minutes. And Cassandra wants to talk about September numbers, which I have something to contribute there. And rock, paper, scissors for who goes first. Ready? Wait, do you go rock, paper, scissors or rock, paper, scissors, shoot?
Rock, paper, scissors, shoot.
Me too.
1, 2,
okay.
3, go.
Boom. Rock, paper. Oh my God. Ready? You count. You say it.
Rock, paper, scissors, shoot. Okay. Rock, paper, scissors, shoot. You win.
I go first. Okay. I would like to talk about contract deadlines. So as a real estate professional, I do a lot of deadline setting. And when I draft an offer or we draft an offer on your dream home, so I'm going to have this conversation from the buyer perspective, because deadlines for the seller perspective, for the most part, the ones you care about are, well, oh, God damn it. I always think of new things as I'm talking.
Just start with the buyer side.
Buyer
'cause I can
contract.
talk to that too.
Yep. And I'm hoping you can, because there is so much that goes on in the back end. If you decide to shut this episode off because we're too annoying, the thing that you need to keep in mind before you hang up on this show is deadlines are designed to keep the ball rolling forward, and none of them are set in stone, except some of the ones that require action. Like there are deadlines in, oh my fucking God, why can't I spit this out? Let's start with the most important deadline that anybody ever cares about, your closing date. So when I write an offer on a property, it says, hey, Mr. and Mrs. Seller, I'd like to buy your house for $300,000. I'm going to do an inspection within X time frame. And we have all these other requirements that are called contingencies. And come hell or high water, I'm going to give you money on or before X date. So December 15th, 2020, or you have the right, or I have the right, or we both have the right, depends on your contract, to declare this contract null and void. That is the language. So if all the shit is not done by this date and time, the contract doesn't exist. So what happens in a contract is buyers and sellers both see that date and go, that's my closing date. December 15th.
Dude, you're not kidding.
We have to close on December 15th.
I'll call the moving truck.
I'll schedule shit. I will fill in the blank of all the shit that you may or may not do around this move. Your closing deadline, your contract deadline, let's call them two different things. Your contract deadline is not your fucking closing date. It is a goal. It's a finish line, but it would be like setting out to run a race and saying, I'm going to cross that finish line on the 15th. I'm just going to take that much time no matter what to get there. What actually happens with a contract is sometimes things get done ahead of time and everybody agrees to close early, which is awesome. Sometimes you get close to the closing deadline and somebody finds out they have to leave the fucking country on that day. And the only way to get the deal done and keep all the terms in place is to close early. Other times, with particular lender lately that I will not name, Socket, the closing deadline is their target closing, but they can't seem to get a CD out in time. And for whatever fucking reason, they think they need to issue a CD like at the final hour. God forbid they figure out a way to do it ahead of time like every other lender I work with. But
for those that don't know, CD is the closing disclosure, and once that goes out by federal law, you must wait 3 days before you can close. Let's
clarify. It's 3 business days, and business days is defined by the lending institution that's handling the money. So for some lenders, Saturday and Sunday don't count.
Super difficult. There's 2 holidays in there. It's like a super short month, and there's Thanksgiving, there's Veterans Day, all the weekends
don't count as business days.
Yeah.
So you got, let's say you're working with a lender who doesn't count Saturday or Sunday, and you've got a holiday, and your CD goes out on a Thursday. When do you think you can close? This is a little bit of a rabbit trail, but this is part of what I wanted to talk about, because
just so you know, I have a calendar that I go to because, and there's also an extra timeline on refinances on when it will fund. So the government says these are all these wait lines, these waiting periods. That's a great mug. Is that a sticker? Is that an Agent Rachel sticker? Can I buy one?
Oh, gosh.
Is there a merch link?
Is there a merch link? I'll get to that one day.
Anyway, so deadlines, the lender portion, because if you're getting a mortgage, which most people are and buying a house, like the realtor is going to keep you on track with your inspection dates and all that stuff. However, the lender's doing work in the background. The title company is doing work in the background. Like there's a whole lot of people that you really don't have much control over working to get to your deadline too. But if you work with them as partners and they're decent at what they do, hopefully you'll meet the deadlines. But anyway.
Yeah. Yeah, and so let me step away from the closing, and I do it too. I keep wanting to call it the closing date. No, contract deadline is not closing date. And I feel like this is a distinction, much like when I meet with my sellers, we talk about list price and sale price. The right list price is going to elicit the best sale price. They are not the same. Don't conflate them into one thing. The same is true for your contract deadline and closing date. Boy, I wish I could remember the logic behind this, but I heard a really good case from a broker explaining, or maybe it was an attorney, explaining how, let's do a scenario. Let's say you and I are doing a deal together and it's supposed to close by December 15th. And on December 14th, the buyer, I don't know, it goes to jail for drunk driving or misses a flight from Paris to the US. I'm going to give a good example and a bad example.
I prefer that one.
Okay. Yeah, okay. So they missed their flight through no fault of their own, but they can be here the next day. So if that deadline of December 15th is missed, but all the ducks are in a row, there is a case to be made for, you can't just say, well, I'm not closing. They missed the deadline. And I'm not clear. I feel like I kind of shouldn't have brought it up just because I can't explain it, but it was either an attorney or a broker, and it has something to do with the intention of the contract because all parties are performing. It's almost like, and this is just me explaining it, but it feels almost like an act of God scenario, right? Where everybody is working toward the closing deadline and all the ducks and everything's lined up, and something happens where the date can't be met. It just can't, but everything's ready to go. I think you still have to close. Like, I think in a court scenario, that's still an enforceable contract. And that might have something to do with the fact that sometimes in the process, people get pissy and they start dragging their feet, thinking, oh, well, I'll just, like, if I won't answer. I will not provide the documents. I'm going to self-sabotage this deal because the time frame will run out and then I get out scot-free. It's not true. Like, if you're performing, just because you miss a deadline doesn't mean the contract is null and void. Go ahead.
Well, I was going to bring up a somewhat similar scenario. We have had cases, not just me, but other LOs too, where somebody is under contract.
Loan officer.
LO, loan officer. Low. Anyway, so I've had it, and a lot of loan officers have had it, where the buyer's under contract, but this other house that they originally wanted came back on the market, and they say, hey, can you decline my loan so that I can get my earnest money deposit? And then I'll be out of contract because I didn't meet the criteria. Legally, we can't do that. It's highly immoral. Like, if we've already approved you and you change your mind on the house, that's really your problem. Don't ask us to do a solid.
You know how you can DQ yourself? Go buy a fucking car.
Yes, you can go buy a car.
But you have to do it, Mr. Buyer. You have to go DQ, make yourself not qualified for that house, which will, guess what, make you not qualified for the next one.
Correct. You have to, get fired or something like that.
Yeah. And I'm not saying buying a car will DQ you, but you're going to impact your debt to income ratios, which may. That's a real like rabbit trail off of a rabbit trail down a rabbit hole, but
let's go
back to, well, hold on. Let's go back because that's a perfect segue actually to another important deadline in a contract. And keep in mind, and this is cover your ass time. I'm talking about the most typical real estate contract for residential real estate that I write in Southeast Michigan. So understand that that's the context here, because your contract may be different. I understand.
I see them from all over. They're really, really simple.
They really are, but every now and then I write a contract that doesn't match the scenario I'm about to give. So it's important.
You're talking about 99% of contracts.
Yep. Always defer to your own paperwork. But in a scenario where it depends. Yeah. That's all of this bullshit leads to it depends. So another important deadline in your contract traditionally, or typically in my case, is your inspection time frame. And we've talked about inspections and inspection time frames on other episodes, but the inspection time frame is critical in a different way. So my contract represents that as the buyer, you will do your inspection within, let's say, 6 days of offer acceptance. You will do the inspection and respond to the seller within 6 days. And then you have 2 days to negotiate. Hypothetically, those numbers can change. We could have asked for 10 days. I just had a deal where we had to negotiate an extension. But here's the thing. In the scenario where you have 6 days to get in there and do your response, if day 7 comes, let's say you have your inspection on day 6 and you don't do anything, your agent doesn't ask for an extension, doesn't send over an addendum, and I mean do something real that protects you as a client. Because sometimes an agent will get on the phone and be like, well, my client wants to know if your seller will replace that cracked window frame and, I don't know, replace the rotten deck boards. Okay, that's not a fucking response inside of an inspection window, because the agent talking to the agent has nothing to do with your agreement between the buyer and seller.
Typing it out and sending it over for review by the end date is actually
by the response deadline. Yes. So there's your window. Yes. And most real estate contracts stipulate that if you do nothing, it is presumed that you are satisfied with the results of the inspection, right, and the process moves forward. So this door closes and it fucking stays closed. So manage to that time frame. Also, loopholes in that time frame, just so you know, like these are little loopholes. A lot of contracts will say something about reviewing the title policy with maybe an overlapping time frame. So maybe you wrote your inspection for 6 days, but your title review time frame is 10 days from the time that you got the title policy. Well, if you never got it.
Can I just say most buyers do not get their title?
Yes. I totally know. These are loopholes. I'm giving people, I think it's important to understand your contract and you're bound by it. So you might as well understand all that it affords you. I feel like it's very much like understanding tax law. I'm not committing tax fraud. I'm just following the fucking rules as best as I can to pay as little as possible while still paying my fair share, right? I don't want to overpay, but I don't want to cheat the system. Same inside of your real estate contract. The other place is if you are apparently Michigan might be the only state that has, site condos. If you're in a site condo situation.
Michigan thing designed to
No, don't say what it is yet. Let me finish my point because I do think we should talk about those. You're in a site condo situation or any other type of neighborhood with an HOA, there may be language in your contract that gives you a different separate time frame to review the bylaws. And that might say something like this. Buyer must receive the bylaws within 3 days of offer acceptance and has 9 days subsequently to review them. If that's the case and you never got the bylaws, that time frame didn't start. But if your language says buyer has 9 days from offer acceptance to review the bylaws, then it's up to you to make sure you get the fucking bylaws. And you can ask your agent for them, and as a courtesy, they might have a copy, but it's up to you to fucking call the HOA or call the Register of Deeds and make sure you have the current accurate ones.
Can I just say, anyway,
yes,
the HOA stuff and finding out who the HOA is, who the contact at the HOA is, getting the documents is the biggest pain in the ass. The biggest pain in the ass. And I don't know why there's not some county level, state level.
Let's talk about why don't title companies cull this shit? I can't tell you how many I use. There are only so many places.
Brokers? Why doesn't your broker have a list of every fucking HOA in the county?
Yeah, so
or
my
your realtor board, maybe not your broker,
dude.
The real estate board.
But who's the one who always needs to contact the HOA 100% of the time in any deal? Title. So why doesn't title have, I can't tell you how many times in the same subdivision, the same person at the same title company has been like, hey, Rachel, do you have another contact for Deer Creek Manor Hill Valley? Yeah, no, we're not having any luck getting a hold of, can you just talk to your seller and see? And I'm like, this is the 5th fucking deal we've closed in there. How do you not have a relationship with that person?
Can I tell you why I think one of the faults is, and I'm not gonna go into it too much.
Listen, we're
but I
just
think
why don't I, like, we could all take responsibility.
yeah.
I could build this, you could build this, but we're just bitching right now.
Well, I think that, the Canton, Canton, the town of Canton does have a central website. But I think a good majority of it, the reason that the contacts are so hard to find is because they're fucking volunteers who live in the area. If it's a really loose HOA, it's Johnny Rotten down the road who works full time at the factory. Shut up.
Yeah, but Johnny
And-
Rotten raised his hand and said, I want to be the treasurer. Okay, Johnny
know.
Rotten, there's a fucking job. That's
But
an actual job.
That's why like finding their email address is so difficult. That, and why don't sellers agents get it? It's right up there with not getting the affidavit of a fixture.
I can
when
tell,
selling
I
a
can,
freaking mobile home. Why don't you get it?
okay, affidavit of a fixture, let's set that aside. But the HOA, can I just tell you, it's like pulling teeth trying to get accurate information from sellers. So, and I'm a listing agent
Seriously?
and a buyer's agent. So sometimes I have to go, sometimes agents ignore it altogether. I agree, and that's annoying. Sometimes I go look at other listings in the neighborhood after the third attempt to get it from my client. Yep. And take it from another agent and hope that their shit is accurate. Other times so now I have a form actually that I give to my clients in neighborhoods for them to fill out, but if they fill it out like 20% accurate, I have a deal right now where the HOA contact is just not fucking answering his phone. So
I would love a revision to a traditional purchase agreement with an HOA portion where it says who the freaking HOA contact is. Because
put it in the
lender,
contract.
I almost always have to contact them to get proof of who these are, or
we all do. If my client doesn't have a copy of the bylaws, getting that is like asking for the launch codes. It's like trying to get fucking launch code. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Sounds like what is it? The
anyway,
code that idiot would have on his luggage? Spaceballs. Yeah, anyway, contract deadlines.
Anyway.
Reviewing your bylaws is a deadline inside of your contract. Reviewing your, maybe, reviewing title policy and approving, because you're the buyer. This is your due diligence period. That's my point. Your inspection period may not cover all of your due diligence period. And the deadlines in your contract are legitimately designed just to keep the ball rolling forward in the direction of the closing deadline, the contract deadline, which is not your closing date. And now let's talk about the CD and TRID, because in order to schedule a closing, all of the terms of the contract have to be met, and the lender has to issue the CD in Michigan for purchase on residential real estate.
In the US, not Michigan.
Okay. And the buyer and the seller not always have to agree on time, but have to agree on date, because that's when everything is prorated through, and the title company has to have someone available. So there's a few moving parts that all have to happen. But before you can actually pick a date, the lender has to, and I'm going to defer all of this to Cassandra because she's the person who issues the CD. What's a CD? What does that have to do with my contract deadline?
When you take out a mortgage, then you start the process, you get something called an LE, or a loan estimate.
Oh.
And when your interest rate is locked, you get another loan estimate. If you change the mortgage amount through the process, you continue to get loan estimates when big things change. Don't tell me the house was built in 1974 and not 1973. You're not getting all new documents. That's a slight material change that will be corrected by the end. But for numbers, the loan estimate keeps going through the process. You might get a couple, you might only get 2, you might get 5 if things change.
What's an example?
The last loan.
What's an example of something that would trigger a new loan estimate? Just so we have something in our head.
Locking the interest rate.
Okay.
Increasing or lowering the loan amount. Having a change of circumstance.
Down? Okay.
Yep, putting more down payment. Yes.
Okay.
Yes. Well, that's actually a whole new application. It's almost, you are not allowed to flip financing. You actually have to start the whole process over again.
So what if you put
Um,
into my loan estimate that the cost of my appraisal is $550, and then when you went and actually ordered my appraisal in Bloomfield Hills, you find out it's $700? Would that change my estimate?
Legally, that is in a section where I cannot change it once I have told you what it is. That's in section B.
Well, let's talk about
Everything
that.
in
Let's go
section
back to,
B, hold on, everything in section B is on me because I'm the one choosing it. And well, like the lender's the one choosing it, the lender's the one requiring it. I can't halfway through the race go, oh, I'm charging you more for an appraisal, unless there's like one instance where you might be able to change that, as if I was led to believe, or it was a single family and they show up and it's a fucking duplex. I'm
Okay.
changing the property type, the appraisal type, but those are very rare. But anyway, so the loan estimate has different sections where fees can't change, and we can go over
Interesting.
that with the
Okay,
screen
yeah,
share.
let's talk about
But
that
the
another
closing
time.
disclosure,
Yeah.
okay, the closing disclosure is a federally required document
Yes.
that
And
all
it's
lenders
new.
must give.
It's new, well, in the last 3 or 4 years, no? The rules around the
I mean,
closing.
It's been around for, it's not, I wouldn't consider it new, 4 years
No,
old, it's not
Understood.
new.
No. But people buy houses every 7 to 10 years. So some people have
Yes,
never had to deal with this still.
yes. You might be expecting a HUD one, it's changed to a CD or a closing disclosure. But now legally, once I deliver that, you have to wait 3 business days before you close. And there's certain information that must be present before the closing disclosure can go out. So,
and closing disclosure,
to get it out quick.
The closing disclosure being interpreted as gone out or issued has to meet certain criteria too, right? You can't just send it. Your client has to acknowledge it or click a link or do something to prove that they saw it, right?
Yes. So yeah, I can't send it into the ether. So I have to send, and this is the fucked up part. The government said, you must give somebody 3 days to review their numbers, the closing disclosure.
Yes.
Well, the rules are written pretty loosely in that I can send a closing disclosure. Those numbers are not final. You know why? Because it's a chicken and egg. The closing disclosure has to go out in order for me to figure out a fucking closing day, right? So oftentimes the lenders will push out a closing disclosure to start that 3-day wait period under the knowledge that the numbers on the closing disclosure are not final, thus circumventing the intent, what many believe the intended purpose for the closing disclosure was,
and
give somebody time to figure out.
And I'm going to pause just to give a real example for people watching who don't do this every day. So let's imagine that Cassandra and I are working together on a file that's closing December 15th. My initial bitch at the beginning of this episode was around a lender who, by design of their process, wants to issue that closing disclosure December 12th. And Cassandra is saying that in order to keep the process moving smoother, she might issue that closing disclosure, and other lenders too might issue it.
I want that bitch out December 1st.
Today?
December 20th,
yeah, okay.
Today. I want it out as soon as I can because that's when the clock starts.
The and clock for what?
Can close. To actually close.
Yes.
So it sounds silly,
get your 3 days out of the way, and you can get real numbers.
Yes. Yeah, so the hard part is the closing disclosure goes out, it's incorrect, but in order to schedule it, I need that out. I need you to have viewed the damn thing as the buyer. You have to actually open it. And I'm going to text you and go, hey, your preliminary closing disclosure is out. Please acknowledge that you received it by clicking the link, and then we can schedule for Tuesday or later. And at a day that works for both realtors and the seller and you. And then we start toying with the numbers on the closing disclosure that are date specific.
And thank you. That are date specific. Thank you, because you're bringing it home right now, because that's the other thing. People want to schedule this like you're scheduling a doctor's appointment or like you're scheduling picking up your groceries. Yeah. And what actually has to happen is there are so many numbers that are prorated and dependent on the date that is chosen that you cannot have accurate figures until the date is chosen. And then the lender can find out how much is owed on the old mortgage? If you're a seller, you got to pay off your old mortgage. That's a prorated figure. Taxes, whether prorated in advance, in arrears, or to calendar date, they're fucking prorated. So nobody knows who gets how much money
HOA
until the
dues.
date is picked. Yes, HOA dues. Finding out if there's any past due anything, taxes, all of it. So
can I also make another case, especially in the climate we're in now,
yeah,
for lenders to push their closing disclosures out, for you as a buyer to fucking open the thing the minute it lands in your mailbox,
Yeah.
because every title company is swamped, and we could talk about numbers because that's on the ticket too. Everybody's absolutely swamped. Every lender's swamped. Every title company's swamped. So in most is refinances, which means, like, I have somebody buying a house who's closing on Monday.
Okay.
I'm
And today's
still
Friday.
waiting.
Do you count Saturday? Just curious.
No, today's Friday at 11. His CD's been out. That's not the issue.
Okay.
Because I put it at a lender that puts the CD out as soon as they can. It's been out for 15 days.
Yep.
But he's closing on Monday. I do not have his final numbers. The lender has not reached out to the title company to balance yet because they're working on shit that's closing at 4:00 today still.
Yeah.
Like, people are like, I want my numbers. And I go, well, don't we all?
So do
I mean it really kindly, like, we all know, but there are oftentimes you're getting your numbers an hour or two prior to closing. And you're like, okay, close at 9 and then run to the bank and get the cashier's check and drive back to the closing table because they're just not able to balance as many files as many people want to refinance. It's taking we don't have the manpower to balance a week in advance. There's one lender where you might be able to balance a week in advance. So in my experience.
And as an agent, not only am I well aware of this, I manage to it by writing really aggressive closing deadlines, knowing full well that nobody's looking at shit until 2 or 3 days, not because they don't care, because they're, like you said, right now they're working on shit that's closing at 4:00 today, because invariably something always comes up either for the agent or the lender or the title company about your closing package. So that's going to have to get solved. And if you're closing at 4:00 today and it's 11 o'clock, guess what? Your file is on the top of the pile. Your Monday guy is going to wait till Monday. So as an agent, I'm writing absurdly aggressive closing timeframes, knowing full well that we may not hit that deadline. But guess what? Everybody's looked at my files in time. And if we do close on time, we're fucking rock stars. And if we're not, at least we're maybe a day or 2 or 3 late. But that's better than, here's the thing. If I write a closing deadline that's 45 days out to absorb to give the buffer for the problems, I'm just pushing the problems out to 3 days before 45 days.
Yeah. So I agree. I think you could write it for 30, knowing that you may need an extension.
40, but if I write 45, it's going to be 55.
Yeah. Well, I don't have any closing quite that long, but appraisals are taking longer. Scheduling's taking a long time.
Thank you, because I meant to bring this up earlier, and then we'll move on to the other topics. Appraisals. So in the process, buyers especially, sellers too, they both, I guess, equally do it. When is the appraisal in? Is the appraisal in? Is the appraisal in? The appraiser goes out there that night. What's the appraisal?
Where's the report?
Is the appraisal in? So here's the thing on appraisal. There's no fucking deadline in your contract other than you have to have an appraisal in order to close, because the mortgage is contingent on appraisal most of the time. There is no fucking deadline. If there is, or when a deadline gets generated, it's immaterial to your contract. It's fucking annoying, I know. But when someone like Cassandra places the order for your appraisal, they have a deadline in whatever agreement they have with the appraisal management company or their appraisal roster. And I feel like it's kind of like a, boy, we'd like to have it back within 7 to 10 days deadline. It's not like we need this by this date.
So it could be wrong. 7 to 10 days was insanely normal up until this nonsense.
And that's from the time the order is placed, not from the time, because the appraiser goes out to the house, that takes 20 minutes. Writing the report is probably 3 hours of bullshit for the appraiser.
It's 3 hours. I talked with an appraiser 2 days ago. He said it's about 3 hours to do a report. Did you know this? Oh my God, I did not know this. You ready?
Yeah, I love
To
it.
help appraisers everywhere. I'm not kidding. Well, nobody can help. Did you know that lenders require the comparables, right? So there's always comparable
comps.
sales to determine the value of the home the appraiser has to
Yes.
find. Did you know that the appraiser has to drive by each comp and get a current photo and cannot use any photo from the prior listing to the house?
No, who told you that though? Because our MLS just passed a ruling that you cannot remove pictures from old listings or from sold listings because of the appraisers need to access them. And there's a bunch of like disagreement because if I'm a buyer and the seller agreed to have all of these pictures of the inside of the house publicized, why do I as a buyer have to accept that risk? Anyway,
Well,
different rabbit trail.
No,
Nope.
understandable. I had to petition to get the listing photos for the house we bought taken down. Those fuckers were up for 5 years before I was able to get them down.
Who did you
I don't really,
petition? Zillow?
I had to petition Zillow specifically and then Realtor.com. And I think truly it came off when I won the Zillow petition or whatever. I was like,
Right,
I own this house. I don't want the photos up.
Mhm.
Anyway, I say that, so this was an appraiser who's been doing it for, I don't know, 20 years. He was a lender before that. He had his real estate license, but he was
So
like,
he knows all the
drive?
hats.
I said, you have to drive to the houses? Why don't you just pull the listings? He's like, oh, that'd be too easy. He said that many appraisers have tried that, and invariably the report gets sent back to the appraiser, and they say, go out and take current photos of the comparable homes that you're using, which is a whole nother trip. He said the prep work to go do an appraisal, he might only be in the house for 20 minutes, but then he has to like sit and find the comparable houses and then go drive by those and take photos too.
So, and you know what's really fun? What's funny about that as a listing agent, totally different approach, totally different hat, and the push pull is necessary, right? In any healthy market, you need that push pull of different opinions arriving at the same.
The balance, yes.
Yes. I do all of that preliminary work ahead of time, but I never drive by the competition. Sometimes I go inside of my competition if it's not clear. Obviously, what I'm doing is parallel, but vastly different than what the appraiser's doing, like the reasoning behind it.
Yeah.
But I find it interesting that they go to the house first and then, no, they do the prep work. Say that again. You said something and now I lost my thread.
He said they have to do a ton of prep work. They basically find the location, figure out everything about the house.
Yep.
So it sounds like they get the house, they draw the circle, which homes have the same stuff from the listing, right? They read the listing.
Yes.
And then they go into the house that they're appraising, look at the quality, confirm the data, right?
Condition.
And he doesn't care if it's dirty, just so you know.
Nope. Yes.
Doesn't care if it's dirty. So
put a pin in that because I disagree because appraisers are people. They are people.
He said
I'm sure he doesn't care.
Obviously it could, but he's like,
but if your condition
structurally, it's the condition of the home. So that's what he's checking for. He goes into the home, he takes the photos, confirms the condition, if it's a 3C or 3-4 or whatever, and then drives to the other comps to make sure that they still meet what his expectations were.
And then that makes sense because let's imagine that I bought a house and then I don't know, never painted it and it needed it when I bought it and the tree fell on the roof and I never repaired it and I put a couch in the front yard and put my car on blocks and had a bonfire in my front yard. Obviously, I live somewhere without an HOA.
I was going to say there's no HOA where you are. Yeah.
I know, or a really inactive one.
Yeah.
So anyway, to bring this home, there is no deadline for your appraisal. It just has to be completed before closing. And that is.
And it usually needs to be completed or there has to be something showing the value before your CD can go out.
So now, everything's connected.
But every lender is different because I have lenders that don't require the appraisal.
That's another good topic. So we also promised to talk about data for September and what your house is worth, which I was fascinated that the lender wants to talk about the value of your house.
Well,
it's 11/11, by the way. Hi, Mega.
Okay, awesome. So I was just going to say, there's some really cool tools out there. I'll drop one to find the data of your house. I think.
Is
you'll
it
find
HomeBot?
It's HomeBot, but
Be
I'll
clear
drop it
about
because-
what that is.
Okay, but I'll drop it. You can check it out and then unsubscribe. I don't care. And I say it because I got in this morning and loaded a bunch of people who've already bought, and I see the metrics for the amount of people that open this email every month and tinker with their value, tinker with their mortgage amount, and the refinance numbers.
I have clients that go in there and dick around with that a month after they closed. They bought a house and went in and they're like, now what? Now what's happening?
Yeah, but it's really cool, customized to you and your house and your mortgage. And I don't do anything with it. It's really like a top of mind thing, but it's pretty cool. But I brought it up because it circled into my topic, which was September numbers. September sales were down 2.2% from August, which is the first slowdown we've seen. However, the volume was up over 20% from 2019. So
get this.
And then the home values were up. Obviously, you know that home values are up to the point. I'm almost done. Home values are up to the point where they have basically eaten away the lower interest rate.
Yeah, I love that. That's beautifully stated for all my people waiting who are going to wait.
Yeah, so
rates
if
are going to
you've
go
been
up.
waiting because rates are really low now, but home values are high, you're literally where you were if you were going to buy last
1 year ago. Yep.
Yes,
but you were waiting for that lower rate.
Rates a percent lower, but the house is $30,000 higher. So now your payment would be exactly the same as if you would have bought it last year.
Additional context for this bit. I was talking with an agent yesterday. August traditionally has the largest increase in inventory or the highest amount of inventory in a, in a sales year, in a real estate year. And year over year from 2019, when values were high because inventories were constrained, we are looking at August right now, had 52% less active properties available to buy. What in the fuck? 52% less in an already constrained market. When your inventory is doing that, and building material costs are through the roof.
Skyrocketing. Yep.
I almost like my brain is pushing the envelope for alternative solutions for housing for people. Because
I have one. Do you want to know a cheap one? Turn the malls into or schools or what's your idea? Well, no, it's not for that. So there is, since COVID, there has been, rents are down in cities because people are fleeing cities, which means there's a ton of vacancy. I feel like some of the commercial property that is open may have to be converted. Because
people are doing this.
And it may be cheaper. Yep. But so people are fleeing the cities, going to suburbs. There's high competition for homes. People are not moving and they're refinancing. Obviously, I mean, I'm swamped.
I for sure could not afford my house right now. Like for sure, buying my house right now that I already own and live in and have refied twice, I'm priced out of my own market.
Well, can I tell you that from what I have read, the expectations for the spring, I don't know how accurate this is, that there will be a lot of listings. There are people obviously holding off on 2020. We had the election, COVID, but jobless claims are down. It just came out, I think today or yesterday, the numbers came down. So jobless is down, which means people are going back to work. And they might be looking at moving. There were people, I'm sure, who were slated to move this year, and then they were like, I'm not moving and teaching my kids and working from home. What the ever?
I better wait
for toilet paper. I'll just wait. Something's got to give.
Because I don't know. So I also heard, and this does not come from a reputable source at all, but somebody,
was it from me?
Friend of a friend. No, not at all. It was such a, no, I said not a reputable source.
I know, I was joking.
I know you were, but your word is like gold to me. Speculate, so I'll just call it irresponsible speculation. You know I love you so much.
I love you too.
Oh, now I'm like caught up in a love fest. Speculation about interest rates hitting 5% in January. And I don't know why. It must be tied to the swearing in of the president. I know. I made the same
And
face.
gas
Like,
is
give
gonna
me
be
some.
$7 a gallon too. So just so everybody knows, the rate at which the Fed loans money is zero. Zero, which means your bank that you go and write checks out of, not that everybody writes checks anymore.
I do.
So do I.
Just a couple, but I do. Mhm.
But your bank
or
borrows
credit union
zero.
or your credit union.
My credit
Highly,
union.
highly recommend.
Borrow at zero. If you think that they're going to pop it up to 5%, meaning that's the spread that they're going to make.
That's their margin. We'll call it that.
Within a month, you're insane. Like, that's insane.
Well, something ridiculous and otherwise catastrophic would have to be happening. And I would venture that that kind of an increase in that short of a time frame would probably be the least of your worries if that's what's happening.
Yes.
Does that make sense? Like the context of,
the bottom needs to drop out for that.
Yeah, the world is crumbling and the zombies are actually coming. You got
and you're like, hey, can I borrow some money to build?
I want to move. I want to move. I would like a 3-bedroom, 2.5 bath ranch, walk out in Livingston County with a little bit of property and a pole barn or the right to build one.
Is that too much to ask? How much money do you have?
I know. It's like, it's such a running joke. I mean, if you throw a pond in there and just the right amount of trees, call me if you have that. Oh my God, please call me. I'll pay you. I will pay you to let me list your house if it actually sells. Am I allowed to do that? That might be against the law. Yes. I don't think so.
Well, I'm gonna drop
because it's for everybody.
If they care.
You're gonna what? Oh, HomeBot. Oh, will you drop my HomeBot? You get to see my HomeBot shit, right?
No, I can see our joint clients.
Can we use the link for that? Did somebody come in?
Oh,
do you guys want to meet Elena? You want to say hi? Hold on, let me unplug.
Hi, Elena. How are you?
It's my sister Cassandra. I'll be.
Hi, Cassandra.
Hi.
About interest rates right now being at like 5% by January. Do you think that's even possible?
Really?
Oh,
I have not heard that yet.
Irresponsible speculation.
We were debunked.
I don't think so. I think, it would take quite some time to get that high.
Hold on. Elena's the one who was telling me the numbers yesterday, I think. Was it you that was telling me about the 52% decrease since year over year?
Yep.
What was the other number? So we're 52% down in inventory year over year. It was for August, right?
For Livingston County.
There was another number about
that was
sales volume. Oh, it was September. See, it's a good thing she came in here.
Oh, it was September. And that makes sense.
I can't hear you, Cassandra. Hold on. I can't hear you. Say something.
Because you took your earbuds out.
I know, but it should default to this microphone. Anyway.
I can hear you.
Oh, there we go. There you are. What was the other number?
I was just going to say.
I don't remember.
You said was it sales volume or price?
Oh, the for Livingston County right now, the median sale price last year this time was 277,000. Right now it's at 314.
That's a huge year. 1 year. 277, 14.
Yep.
Yeah.
And now I want to do numbers on a 277 at last year's rates versus 314 at this year's rates, just to show that it's probably going to be within a couple bucks of each other.
So thank you, because Cassandra was saying the interest rates that everybody who didn't buy last year is waiting for the low rates that showed up this year.
Yeah.
The increase in value of homes has eaten up whatever savings you had by that low rate.
Oh yeah,
big
absolutely.
Time. Anyway.
Yep. Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you too. Yeah, it would have been better for you to buy last year and refinance this year.
About buying land. Let me just take a minute and say that she is amazing. Oh, yeah.
You ass kisser. Hey, before we leave, because I know our time's up, I wanted to compliment you on your earrings today.
Oh, yes. Why, right back at you, my darling.
Those are gorgeous.
As well. Mm-hmm. So
yours match.
Are they fair trade? I think they are.
I think they are.
Shopping with a conscience, baby.
Yeah, way to go.
God, did we cover all the things you want? We closing deadline. Oh, value of your home, the HomeBot thing. Okay, so the HomeBot thing, you guys, is actually a cool tool, and Once you opt in, because I provide this for my clients too, you get a link once a month, and we can kind of see what you're doing on the back end, but it helps us keep
Just so you
connected
know,
with what
I
you
don't,
need.
I almost
It-
never look in to see what anybody's doing.
Nope, and I'm not putting it out, I'm not saying that for that
Yeah.
reason, but I want people to know what it is and know that it's not putting you on a auto email or selling your data to anyone. It's literally,
No.
in the case of the link Cassandra's gonna send, just her, not her company, not a big corporation, it's just
Yeah.
her. And if you ever get the link from me or use my link, it's just me. And if you've closed the deal with both of us, it's both of us. It's literally like, it's better than having to go to
Yeah.
Zillow. And there's some
Yeah,
cool
and
shit
it's,
in there.
and it changes every month. Your house is up this, or hey, have you thought about it? And if you put in your mortgage info, it will give you ideas on saving or tell you how much you've avoided paying in interest if you're paying extra towards principal. It's just like a really super cool customized calculator. If it wasn't cool, I wouldn't fucking pay for it for my
Yep,
clients, but
same.
they seem to love it. And it's
And
like
it's just
I
an
used to send
opinion.
magazines to people. This is far more appreciated.
It's, and also to be clear, it's just an opinion, because I've had clients get their
Yeah.
home bot estimate and call me and go, and I'm like, no, hold on. No, it's like,
Yeah, so
it's A's estimate kind of tool.
yeah, but you
Algorithm.
can't, there is a button in there where you can say, I'd like a CMA, or can you please have a realtor validate my information? And
So-
if you ask that and I get the request, I'll give it to a realtor to validate.
And just so you know, what that triggers is like 3 hours of work. So if you're just dicking around, just get on the phone with me. We can probably do what you're actually looking for with a Zoom. Not that I mind doing 3 hours of work. I just only have so many 3-hour chunks of time. And on that note, I have an ALC meeting that I'm already late for because I love y'all so much. You got anything? Peace out, Girl Scout. We'll see you next week.
I love you. I'll see you next week. Have a
All
good
right.
day.
Bye.
Bye.